Okay. Don't expect any viewers during this. I just want to address... I scanned... Where am I here? Okay. I scanned... Oh, let's try that normal first. The video game news this morning already. And it appears that the story that I've seen repeated over and over again is about Yooka-Laylee. And with Yooka-Laylee saying that they've switched their Wii U version to the Switch, Nintendo Switch. I'm going to stand up for both sides of this argument here. Now, I don't know what... I've read a few comments, posts, and research that some people are saying, well, they're saying yes and no that people can switch to Switch. I think, I'm not going to even predict how they're going to handle that. I'm just going to say this. Either they were asked by Nintendo to put it on the Switch, don't know, or it goes like this, and this is my first part of the argument. Could it be that the Nintendo Wii U is just too weak to program for with its 32-bit G4 processor, this ancient processor in computing standards? I would have to say yes on that latter point. It's a 32-bit system. It has 3 cores. Sure, it's completely, absolutely on par with an Apple Power Mac G4 Tower. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But it's still 32-bit. There's nothing to do with that 64 code or anything. Similar topic yesterday. But it's still 32-bit, and it's not ARM 32-bit. That's where the Tegra in the Nintendo Switch makes sense. I don't think that's going to be 32-bit. I think that's going to be a 64-bit Tegra. I don't have a Switch development kit to sink my teeth into, and I don't have a Switch to take apart and take a look at the processor. And not a 90s video game magazine or one of these websites that get pay-for-play cover. Everything I got, I bought by saving money or borrowing money. So if I have a Switch later, and later is the key fundamental word here, later, I'll find out if it's 32 or 64-bit. I'm thinking it's a 64-bit Tegra because I'm unaware of NVIDIA currently making 32-bit Tegras anymore. That's all. And if it's not 64-bit, they're just shooting themselves in the foot again, which is where the Yooka-Laylee developers, and to a degree, a few other developers are coming in. I don't mean ones who took the money and ran off and disappeared, like 90s arcade racer. What I'm talking about is, genuine programmers who just can't get things that are now standard. It doesn't matter if a person should say, oh, well, you should be number cruncher processor. No, there's nothing to get into on the Wii U's processor. It's a weak processor by today's standards. It can't run iMovie or something. Probably if it was in a Mac, but who wants to run iMovie? That's my point. On a G4, when I can run iMovie or Final Cut on an Intel Mac. I mean, I can go buy a Mac Mini right now and run iMovie right out the gate. I can go and I can buy a slightly more powerful laptop at slightly more the price and run Final Cut, whatever version that is, that's really good to use. This last version I played with at the Apple Store. And I can go run that anywhere I want, as long as I got the battery power or whatever. So, you know, that's what I find. That's what I completely find out of this. Now, here's the other problem, though. Is Kickstarter based in America? So this is the only way this argument works, is if Kickstarter is based in America. If Kickstarter is based in America, an American company, an American corporation, then that means that even though Yooka-Laylee might be being developed outside the United States, Yooka-Laylee would be, in fact, beholden to FTC requirements. So if they said, well, you know, we're going to do a Wii U version of the game, they have to do it. There's no way around that unless they want to be in violation of false advertising under American law. The easiest way to teach this is watch Saved by the Bell to college years. I don't know if maybe it's on Hulu or something. But in Saved by the Bell to college years, Zach Morris is trying to get some assignment completed where he has to, I don't know, get whatever from the incoming student body, freshman. Oh, dial. And they're like offering a free trip to Hawaii. I think it's like the first or second episode. And by offering the free trip to Hawaii, he has to make good on the free trip to Hawaii. It's the law. Or he's in violation of FTC. There's FTC violations filed every day that you don't hear about. Sony even got in trouble with FTC many moons ago when during the start of the PS2 era, for them, that's their personal error. It's what we call the 128-bit error. That not one damn system was 128-bit. It was during that era that they published positive reviews on their movie posters from critics who didn't exist, and also had fake critics praise their video games and stuff. They got caught for pay-for-play, all kinds of things. In fact, it actually harmed video game magazines and websites overall, because, you know, here they give a higher score to a PS2 version of the game, which is virtually identical to, say, Dreamcast, Xbox, GameCube, or Windows or Mac version. So you can't do that in American law. They're under precedent, not under any court ruling. I'm sure they can take these to court, but I haven't read any case law or any particular specific cases where these were in fact taken to a court for dispute and resolution, but they're usually settled with the FTC right off the bat, because that's just the safest thing to do. The FTC has the power to shut down companies. Are those powers granted in the Constitution? Topic together, and that's here. I'm saying what the rules actually are for in regards to this kind of business practice. So the developers are correct. They switch it over, no pun intended, to a different system like the Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox One. But on the other hand, they're in the wrong because they did sell a bill of goods and they're not delivering. That makes them no better than a car salesman. That would I do that myself? That's called bait and switch, and I would never do that unless I was like selling at a swap meet. I'm selling at a swap meet. I don't think that makes me the most honest vendor possible. Swap meet. I don't even pay for the space. That's pretty low to go to a swap meet. I've seen people at swap meets like repaint tools and try to sell them as new as they put them up. The tool's got mileage on them. You know you're running the game. You actually know you're running the game and stuff like that. But yes, yes, I have seen this at swap meets. I've seen people buy broken N64s back a long time ago at swap meets, you know, trying to pass it off as something. Other than a swap meet, if I did that at a grocery store, called bait and switch, I would have to go to court for it. I know that Nintendo had to settle a long time ago or something, and we all got $5 off coupons in the state of Nevada from Nintendo, which we used it all up. But a bunch of that actually spurred a buying frenzy on the NES when I was in 6th grade, which would be 1991 to 92, actually. But yes, as the NES was on the way out, because of these $5 coupons, I wasn't the only one. A bunch of us had these $5 coupons at school, and we all used them. So the Yooka-Laylee developers are in violation of the FTC. They should know that. Kind of why I'm putting the information out there. I'm not forcing them to do anything because I don't agree with the decision from a user standpoint. I do agree with the decision from the developer's standpoint. The Wii U is miserable to develop for because of its weak power. I am not Nintendo. I have no idea how to exploit this processor co-developed with ATI between 1999 and 2000. It's true. That's when this processor was developed. I mean, when did the first G4s hit? Late 1999, early 2000? No, and I don't know whose decision it was at Nintendo to go with this new processor. They could have done a 3-core G5, made everyone happy. I understand there's Gunpei Yokoi, I forget how to say his name, philosophy. You build weak or whatever, but I want to point out a few things where that philosophy was not used by the company itself. Well, it was used in the Game Boy. It was not used in the NES, the Famicom. When the Famicom was released in Japan, it had way more RAM, actually, than some home computers. That philosophy was also not used during the Super NES and development of the Super Nintendo CD-ROM from either Philips or Sony. CD-ROM development actually started in 1987 or 88. The philosophy was kind of used by Hudson Soft for the PC Engine development, where the PC Engine pulled a Wii U. It had the same processor as the NES, but it had more colors and better sound. That kind of hurt it, I think, with Western developers. And, so why didn't the TG16 take off here in the States? That's something that's been talked about since 1989. When it didn't do so hot against the Sega Genesis. At the same time, why didn't the Master System take off? Yada yada yada. Got a game over here. Game over, man. Game over. Well, again, it's Nintendo. The NES, though, the NES was pretty weak compared to the color palette of the Master System. So it had, in my opinion, it had better sound, but who could really tell back then? Sounds were similar. I think the NES also moved sprites better, because the games just look smooth on the NES. So they don't look better, they look smoother. the big difference. Oh, by the way, the philosophy in these kind of games is the moves. And I just think the sounds were better. It's like compare Double Dragon. You know, they use the same graphics as NES, not the same colors, but the NES just has a smoother, more refined look than Sega's version of Double Dragon. I actually prefer the Master System version though. So when I saw that bullet and went right into it. But overall though, I think the NES had I don't know why I thought that. Let's move on. We get to NES. Both the Game Boy and Game Gear actually has more similar hardware than you would believe. So I find that pretty fascinating. And they both run off a Z80 processor. So that's why you saw so many games released on both Game Gear and Game Boy. And they played virtually the same except for the graphics. Super Nintendo, though, because it had a few years gap in its development, things were different upon its design and manufacture. Was it the weakest? Actually, it was considered the most powerful. It's true. It was considered the most powerful home system at the time. I mean, it wasn't. The Neo Geo was. It was more powerful than the CDI and everything except color palette. And, Takes a little bit longer. There we go. Oh. I'm going to do that in a bullet hell. Amateur hour. So they did have that philosophy. Sony. Oh, I was playing 2 players the other night. Okay, I got it. So when the PlayStation came out, the PlayStation doesn't move sprites, but Sony took a similar philosophy. Sega wanted to take on 3DO. 3DO wanted to take on, I don't know, personal computers. And is the PlayStation more powerful than the 3DO? Is PlayStation more powerful than 32X, so forth and so on? What am I doing? That's the way gaming goes. You do well, fast. So when the N64 comes out, using the same family of CPUs, like 64-bit, found in the PlayStation. And from what I heard, it was actually a design that was shopped around, and Nintendo was the company foolish enough to go with the SPI design. But the N64, if the cartridges could have been, at least 300 megabytes, then it would have done much better against the PlayStation. Why Nintendo chose to stick with cartridges at a time when cartridges, like take for instance Super Mario 64, I believe is 32 megabits. Don't quote me on that. I'm playing a game right now. I'm not going to look up how many megabits it actually was. It might have been 64, but let's say it was 32 megabits. And that's funny. I remember Sierra Online was like a big supporter there. With the cartridges, I just don't think it was feasible with the cartridges at a time when cartridge technology was so primitive, because there weren't any flash cards. I mean, somebody did Road Avenger on the Super Nintendo recently by using all sorts of new techniques and chips. And so it is more than possible to in fact do this. On an old system. And but the N64 was not that system, and I'm not saying that they should have stuck with the Super NES or anything. What they should have done, and I don't mean that stupid Super Nintendo disk drive either. I think other than I did worse, but I made progress with it. The disk drive, no sir. Other than SimCity 64, which should have been brought to the United States. Both SimCity 2000 and SimCity 64 should have been brought to the United States on the N64. Nintendo should have just bit the bullet and did a CD-ROM add-on. That would have taken off, actually. Or they should have. I understand Sony created compact discs. But, I mean, come on. And there's the other thing. Sony should have used mini discs for the PlayStation memory cards. Those were cheaper to make than the memory cards, actually. And they would have been a patented technology, so Interact and other companies couldn't do anything about it. It's true. Absolutely true. So, having the most technically powerful system except for storage, there it is. Now the GameCube, where the GameCube excelled is it could render more polygons than the PS2, the Dreamcast, or the Xbox 360. Again, to avoid Sony, Nintendo went ahead and went with the Panasonic developed these mini discs. The mini discs in all the optical discs in a Nintendo system read differently. Along comes 3DS, or not 3DS, DS. DS's polygons have got to be something around PlayStation quality. So, in comparison to, say, the PSP that was out, it wouldn't be until the 3DS that a portable would equal something that the competitor was doing. And the 3DS, though, it has a total lack of third-party support, especially compared to the Vita, has completely decimated the Vita. To the point the Vita is kind of a walking joke. Oh, it's a decent portable, it's fucking stuff. So did the PSPs. But, all the games that came out on the Vita should have came out on 3DS if it wasn't made by Sony. Why companies like Capcom continue to shoot themselves in the foot, I don't know. In fact, I would recommend that a lot of companies just make 3DS versions of their games. I don't know why they would make a Vita version. It's the same thing. So here's hypocritical. This has nothing to do with Yooka-Laylee. But Bloodstain says that they're going to have a Vita version. Why? You want to cancel the Wii U version but have a Vita version. The Vita is still 32-bit. It only has 64. So why? That's hypocritical. Vita's fun. Now, we come to a bit of a strange thing. I'm not going to talk about that particular developer because there's so much. But there was a game called 90s Arcade Racer, and then once they teamed up with a certain publisher, all of a sudden the game's not coming. Wii U? Or was it 3DS? I forgot which it was going for. A Nintendo system. Now, I don't even think the game is going to be released, which was kind of funny because it had a trailer, meaning it had to and the trailer was made by Nintendo. The Wii U is not like it has a small base. Anyone who says anything over $1 million is not small. You cannot put $1 million in something small. You cannot put, let me write it in chat, $1 million in quarters. What happened here? The board? Same thing with anything that sells $1 million. I mean, come on. That's good shit. So, it's just that people aren't focused. There's so many games. Like, I was just looking at PS4 games. That's kind of why I have this game. Why I have this game. And, you know, it's evident to me that there's very little for me to buy on the Sony shop. There are JRPGs, as people are calling them today. To me, they're just normal RPGs. You know, I grew up differently than all of them. I grew up with a different set of beliefs. So, you know, to me, what's called a JRPG is like 100% totally normal in its values and storytelling techniques, melodrama. Western audiences, I feel this is where they misinterpret anime. They watch this stuff, but they don't understand why. You know, I watch it and I'm like, oh, well, that's very appealing. That's because I understand it. Anyone who lives amongst that Far Eastern culture, they understand stuff. It's pretty good. It's also why I don't go to conventions and stuff. I don't actually get along with these people because I see them as sheep, and I don't like to associate with sheep. I want leaders, not followers. That sounds weird, right? You know, I'm that guy you would like because business or whatever. It puts me at conflict when I'm hired at a lower position at a business because I want results. I want good results. I do what's good for the overall business. I'm not somebody who just sees the small side of business. The best comes from growing up, believe it or not, as an owner. As an owner of a business, 3 businesses in fact, I see things as the equivalent of someone, whether it's small or big business, an owner is an owner. And, well, you know, there it is. I mean, I just see things as results driven. In conclusion to this whole discussion, totally, I've got to agree on a pie scale, 75-25, 75-25 with the, am I doing this level again? I think I am. 75-25 with the Yooka-Laylee developers and EGA and stuff like that. It's just, however, okay, I guess I'm playing the level again just because I can. So it's just the way I see it is a business decision. But in business, got to be very careful about laws, rules, and everything, especially international and interstate publishing. That's all it comes down to it. So, questions, comments, blah 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 blah. You know the drill. copyforbinky@gmail.com. It would be very appreciated if you can leave comments or whatever like that. I think people have the wrong impression about the channel. Not wrong as in destructive, wrong as in misunderstanding. I put up game footage because I like to show you what I own, what I play, and everything. Hosting a show or something like that, I know I'm talking over a video game. I'm not aware of that. But yes, I understand the whole thing about talking over video games. And a lot of people say do narration, stuff like that. Kind of have to contribute to my well-being and give me incentive to do all that. You can make requests and stuff. I don't mind that, but you're going to have to be patient. Things get fulfilled when things get fulfilled. I run the YouTube channel, believe it or not, similar to a TV station. This is what I have planned. This is what's already been filmed. This is already been cut up. This is uploaded. And, so that's the way that goes. What it was. But yes, almost all topics are fair game. The problem with talking about politics on a video game channel, the person plays video games, away from politics. If it's political in nature, the game is, then sure. Congressional hearings on video game violence in 1994. That's an entirely different thing. That's not what we're talking about. So like I said, copyforbinky@gmail.com, or leave a comment down below. Maybe I will get to it, maybe I won't. I'll talk amongst yourselves. As Mike Myers' woman character says on old episodes of Saturday Night Live. And I appreciate your viewership, and you just be good to each other out there. And if I missed anything, or you don't agree with my opinion, whatever, just go ahead and tell me. But believe me, if you're going to attack me with religious zealotry, be prepared to... Be real prepared to defend yourself. I don't take one from religion. I believe strongly in the Lord. I don't believe in religion. That's why I'm here. Video games. And what I mean by that is I don't look for religion or anything like that. I don't feel sorry for this being. Yeah. You all be good to each other out there. Just do what you can during Merry Christmas season. Any worries or anything. Get heavily involved in your video game. But don't rush to beat your game.